Going to draw up a pattern for a holster. Me outside the waistband. And I'm going to show you how I do it. Now, I am by no means a professional, so don't get that twisted. But they work. This is how I do it. This is one way. So this is going to be how to draw a pattern. So what you're going to want to do is this is a folder. You can get a whole pack of them, like 100 of them, for super cheap. They're a little bit harder than just regular paper, so they'll last a little bit longer while you're making patterns, making holsters. So basically, to do all this, just to do the pattern, you need a rule, pencil, and a pen, and the gun, or in this case, a blue gun. So if you have a real gun and you don't have these blue guns like this is a plastic fake gun. This will be the time you're going to check it and make sure that it's not loaded, obviously, because you can see the gun is pointing at you, and it will be several times. It is best to use blue guns. Not only is it not damage the gun, it's not so hard on the gun, but you know, it's a lot safer for you because the plastic isn't going to take you out. So what I do here, take a pen and just draw a outline. I don't dig in to make sure it's exactly precisely tight. As a matter of fact, a little extra I found doesn't always tend to hurt. So you're going to want to mark your trigger guard, and then you're going to want to mark where your magazine is too, the magazine release. It's really easy on Glocks because they pretty much come down to the bottom of the paper, but some of them you gotta kind of do your best guesstimate there. So block that out. There we have a magazine release. So after that, you pretty much don't even really need this anymore till the final molding, but that's what you're going to come up with here. Okay? So now, oh, I lied. You do need to take your first measurement here. What I do is I measure how thick the slide is. So, like, this slide is, for all intents and purposes, it's 1 inch. It's a little bit less than an inch. Like, a very little bit less than an inch. So what I do is measure 1/2 inch away from the biggest point. Like in this point, it's going to be the sight channel here. So I'm going to go 1/2 inch away from there. And that's going to be 1 stitch line, the straight edge there. Boom. Just like that. And then with this gun, it's going to be the same thickness all throughout. So you could do the 1/2 inch all the way down. Like when you have revolvers, it's considerably thicker here where the cylinder is. This is, for the most part, the same thickness all the way around. I think like the grip's a little bit bigger, but you know, it doesn't go down to the grip. Yeah. So at that point, you're going to make a bunch of little marks here, like so, 1/2 inch away from the gun. Oh, and I forgot, I go just a wee bit, no, it's probably like 1/8 of an inch below the gun there, just so you got a little extra muzzle room. So this line we drew here is going to be your stitch line. This makes for a very, very tight stitch line, like super snug. If you want it a little bit looser, I would add like 1/8 of an inch to it. But maybe, yeah, I wouldn't go much more than like 1/8 probably. Not too much, just if you want it just a little bit loose, because I mean it's going to be super, super tight, but you want it a little snug. It gives it good retention. So that's going to be your stitch line. Go lay down, and then this is your other stitch line. Okay, so what you're going to do next is you want to have enough room for your finger to go in here to grab the gun out. I mean, that's my thumb, but same principle. It usually translates to about 1/2 inch as well. So you're going to want that much clearance. That's just a rough line. That's why we do these in pencil. Because you're going to need this space here to be able to get your finger in there. So what I do next is you kind of figure out where like you want your belt to sit, and you want it to go basically across the trigger guard. So if you want, I mean, you can get a protractor out here and do an actual cant, but I just kind of eyeball it most of the time. So we'll go with this route here. Okay, we're gonna say this is gonna be our belt line. We're gonna have an actual wide belt here. We're just guessing. Boop. So that'll be your belt. So you can go 3/4 of an inch, or about, I'd say like 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch from that stitch line, we're going to put your belt loop, okay? 1/2 inch. And then just, draw it. So go like this. I usually draw them like a square, but when they get cut out, they get cut out round because I got a round punch. Make it at least 1.5 inches, because that's like the standard belt size. Is going to be at least, usually 1.5 inches. These don't have to be in particular beautiful or anything. They're just there for the show. It needs to be wider for sure though. There we go. Okay, so now you want to draw some, you're going to want to draw some space around it. I kind of just freehander. When you do this too, you're going to want to leave enough room to where you get a stitch in the top up there too. You can make them square, you can make them round. Anything your heart desires. Boom. Then you draw. You do the same thing on this side over here. What you want that little ear to look like for your belt loop. Remember, this is your stitch line. It's not going to go to the gun. Something like that. Now, then you go across the top how you want it to look, and I usually like to cover a good bit of the gun up here. Kind of swoop back down if I need to. Something like that. So I'm going to finish this up a little bit where I'm not trying to hold the camera and draw around it so it looks a little better, and then I'll come back to you with the finished product. So in the interest of saving time here, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I did. So this is essentially going to be the front of the holster, okay? It's going to be bigger than the bottom. You want to create a little pouch almost for the gun to sit in. So what I went ahead and did here is I retraced the gun, recopied with some different lines this time. Now we are 1/4 of an inch away from the sight channel and 1/4 of an inch away from the trigger guard. Like I said, you can make these a little bit, these wouldn't matter as much as this. If you're going to make anything looser, I would make the stitch lines looser on this, on the front piece and the back. But so far for what I've been doing, 1/4 of an inch works great. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, you see this line here, this is your stitch line that we made from the beginning, that is 1/2 inch away from the gun itself, from the sights, as a matter of fact, to be honest there. So what you do is, we are lining up that 1/4 inch line with the stitch line, and the bottom of the holster with the bottom of the holster, obviously. See that? What we're going to do is we're got this little wing right here. We're going to trace this little wing. I'm going to trace this little wing without going underneath the paper like that. And then you can go, I usually go about halfway to the bottom. Then what you want to do is you want to move this stitch line up to here. And you want to line it up and line it up with the bottom. And then do the same process here where you trace this like so. And go the rest of the way across the bottom there to where you meet. It's a little off, that's okay. Now you want to draw what the back looks like. So I'm definitely going to do this part with a pencil. So what you want to do is you're going to come back up, and now you decide whether you could just make it go straight across the back. This is going to be the back of the holster. So you decide whether you want to go straight across the back or if you want a sweat shield. I like sweat shields. I live in Florida. All my friends that have been buying holsters for me, they live in Florida too, so sweat shield is a nice touch. So the biggest thing you want to make sure to avoid is a magazine release, because if the sweat shield comes up too far in the magazine release, it is definitely going to drop the magazine on you if you bend the wrong direction. So you can, I'm just going to do a little rough draw here just to kind of show you what I'm talking about. You just kind of come up and around, and this is going to be the top of your slide. That's what you're going to want covered. And I just kind of do one of these. You don't want it too high over because you don't want it curling over the top or anything. And see, that's kind of a sharp point. I'll come back and round that a little bit. And you just bring it down here and match it up to this. You kind of want it, there you go, like that. You don't want to do that. You'll have an extra piece of leather hanging out there. But yeah, that's about it. Can you see that? I'll clean it up and I'll do it with Sharpie so you guys can see it really good. Hold on a second. So there you go. Can you guys see it a little better? That's going to be your back. This is going to be your front. And what it's going to look like, what it's going to do is create a little pocket like that the gun's going to sit in. Because it's just a wee bit bigger on each side. I know it doesn't look like much, but it makes all the difference in the world, and it actually makes it to where there's a nice little pocket right there, so it's not bulging out the back and bulging out the front. That's the way I was making my holsters first, and I stumbled upon this method, and I I like it a lot better. It makes the holster smaller overall, and they seem to fit a lot better. After this, you're going to transfer your pattern onto the leather. That's going to be a different video. We'll show that. At this point, you just cut it out. You need to make sure you know which way it's oriented, because you're going to want the flesh side. Like if you draw this on the finished side, you're going to want to put this facing up, and then you'll want to put the other side facing up for this, because this inside here is going to be the flesh and the finished side is going to be on the out. And that will be the exact opposite there. So, next video, we will have this bad boy cut out, and we'll go on to the next step of the process. Hope you guys liked the video. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, because I could use those. I'm just starting out learning this journey. Thanks for watching.